Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be episode 7, and today's video is going to be my top 5 favorite tips I've learned over the last couple of years that may help you to draw eyes. And definitely make sure to stay around till number 5 because number 5 is probably my favorite tip. These tips will help a lot with painting photorealistic eyes, and that's what I tend to paint a lot. Today's subject happens to be the one and only Jenna Ortega from the Netflix series Wednesday, and I am super excited to repaint this eye. At the end of the video, I'm going to do you're going to see a full speed painting, and I'm going to give my thoughts on the series because it was so much fun and we've watched it a couple of times now. So the very first tip is to always make sure you sketch in the general shape and blueprint of what you want to draw. That way you have something to work with, and you don't have to be married to it, but just something so that way you have a general idea of the size and shape of what you're about to paint. It's always helpful just to check back and have something to refer to. You could also grid. That's another thing that definitely helped me when I first started painting, was to grid eyes out. I always feel like the eyes are the most important part of any portrait, so definitely make sure you have an under sketch. That way you have something to refer to. The second tip is to start blocking in colors and shapes first and to refine as you go. You don't want to focus on details in this stage. That'll come later on, but right now you're just focusing on the color, values, and shadows and the overall shape of the subject. The third tip is to make sure you don't forget about the upper and lower eyelid area, especially when painting eyes. They will really help to add a lot of depth and shape to your drawing. I try to keep in mind that the eye is a round object and we're painting the illusion of that round space and what that structure looks like in real life, and to translate them into a 2D space. So definitely keeping in mind that the eye is a 2D object, is a round object in a 2D space, will definitely help you paint eyes. You'll want to create the structures that are underneath. So the fourth thing is to make sure you don't paint the irises too white. The whitest part of just about every photorealistic eye is the shine in the eye, and that really helps to pull the shape and curve of the eye out. If you make the whites of the eye too white, they will look a little scary and have no depth. And actually, most whites of the eyes have a gray or blue tint to them. So number 5, and probably one of the most important tips I can give you, especially when you're painting eyelashes and eyebrows, is to make sure that you don't paint them straight up and down, and to vary your line weight as to make sure to avoid any harsh lines, because there is nothing like a beautifully painted eye with scary stick eyelashes. Think Cynthia from the Rugrats. A bonus tip I wanted to add too was to make sure to always keep your reference in hand. Don't try to do photorealism without any sort of reference. You will always get a slightly cartoonish look if you don't keep your reference close, just so you have something to refer back to. But now we're going to switch over to the speed painting right now. So I wanted to share some thoughts on the show because it was such a fun and unexpected ride. I think this interpretation of Wednesday was different than some of the other Addams Family interpretations. I'm a huge fan of Christina Ricci, and although this version took a very similar route, Jenna Ortega definitely managed to hold her own and create a new version of the character that was definitely relatable and more modern for a new generation. And of course, we definitely got to spend more time with this version of the character because we had 8 episodes, but she had a little bit more warmth and growth as a person than in some of the other interpretations, and that can definitely be seen through some of her relationships, like with Enid, Fester, and her brother, than some of the other interpretations of her, and I really appreciated seeing something a little different. I think, too, giving her hobbies like the cello and writing made her more human. But definitely along with the good comes the bad, and I'm going to start with the things that I didn't love first. I thought the dynamic between Wednesday and her parents was a little awkward sometimes, and I didn't know if it was the dialogue or the acting. It started off a little cold, even for Wednesday, and I know they were supposed to be annoyed with each other to start off with, but I'm not even sure after the events of proving her father innocent after he was suspected to be a murderer. I don't think it got a whole lot better. I do think the relationship with her mom maybe just got a little bit better overall, but I'm not sure how I feel about Morticia and Gomez in the series. And it could be just that we didn't spend a whole lot of time with them, so we didn't get them, a fleshed out version of them. But I do love both of the actors portraying them. I will say, I know the original drawing of the character of Gomez had that type of hair, but that wig they put on Gomez did not do Luis Guzman any justice. I absolutely hated that wig. And just a personal preference, I think Morticia's lipstick should have been a deep shade of red instead of the black. I just think it made her look a little washed out. So, another thing that happened that I didn't love actually happened in the opening of the series. I thought it was really cool that they introduced her powers in the first episode, and it was a really nice setup for the rest of the season. But the thing that I didn't love was the piranhas in the pool. I think it was a scene that, while in theory, was very Wednesday, and I think it's something that she would have implied or thought about or joked about doing. For me, I am absolutely terrified of the water. I don't want to have my head under it. I don't like the idea of the piranhas in the water, and I think them showing the blood in the water was a little over the line. But that was just something for me that I didn't like. Um, I just thought it was a little weird too because the rest of the series wasn't like that. So I was definitely glad. I also think too that maybe they could have downplayed the love triangle with Xavier and Tyler a little bit, because I don't think Wednesday's character really, she wasn't really a relationship kind of girl. I think that was more of the drama that today's TV shows, it's more of a trope in today's TV shows than it really should have been, I think. It really to made it obvious to me that Tyler was the one that needed to be watched out for because of how blatant the story was trying to ignore him and downplay and focus on Xavier, which for me made Tyler even more suspicious. Of course, the last thing that I absolutely hated was them killing off Principal Weems, because I loved Gwendolyn Christie, and I hope if there's a season two, they will figure out a way to be able to write her back into the story, because I think she was such a great foil for Wednesday and a fun character to watch on screen. So, on to the things that I loved. So the characters. Enid was pure joy, and the dynamic opposition of their personalities made for such a perfect friendship with Wednesday. I thought her nails were amazing, her hair color changes were fun, the outfits and the colorful room style, and of course the wolfing out at the end was fabulous. I'm really glad too that they wrote her father in as a sympathetic character to her, and he was helping her stay strong while her mother was pressuring her. I really think that Enid was definitely essential in helping to give Wednesday a more human side and a little bit of warmth. Um, and of course, I also really want a snood now, and I want to figure out how to make one. I really loved Thing. I thought it was great that they focused it on him in this series, and they were able to turn him into a more fully realized character. Even though he didn't have any lines, I thought his friendship with Enid was adorable, and I think it was amazing that she could finally understand him. And I think it was kind of a turning point too for Wednesday, because I think that really told Wednesday that Enid could be trusted, and it almost broke my heart when he was almost thought to be dead. I actually loved too how quirky and ridiculous Uncle Fester was in this interpretation. I think it was fun and a different take on the character, and I'm glad he wasn't written as a complete moron in this one. And he, as he was in some of the other ones. I will literally never get over him trying to eat the bees and then him eating the ketchup crusties off the bottle. I nearly gagged. His Dalmatian ears on the motorcycle bike was adorable, and it was really nice to see Wednesday light up when she saw him, because it was, I think, one of the first times in the series we actually saw her smile. I thought that the supporting cast was great, and I also loved that they were able to include Christina Ricci and include her in the series, although immediately for me, that's what made her the most suspicious. I knew from the very beginning she was either going to be a really good character or the big bad, and we all knew by the end how that turned out. So, as far as the plot line goes, my mom and I both suspected Tyler from the beginning, and it started in the episode when he wanted to show Wednesday the meeting house where Goody Adams was. Um, I always pay attention to characters in these kind of mysteries who have too much interest in what's going on, when they shouldn't have any vested interest in what's going on with the main character. And while that can be definitely written off as him, having a crush on Wednesday, when they showed him under the water screaming, that was really suspicious. And what really cinched it for me was actually when the bum in the woods was attacked and the picture was taken on the camera, and Tyler's police chief dad later on was in the red room developing the photo. His dad saw the picture and didn't react at all, which pretty much told me right there he had already seen the monster or something like it before, which made it all the more apparent that Tyler was the one we needed to pay attention to. They also tried really hard in the story not to pay attention to Tyler. They really were focusing in on Xavier, and I thought Xavier, of all of them, the only thing that was a little suspicious to me was the drawings, but that also could be written off as him having visions of him, and he was just jotting down what he saw. I also thought that the interaction between Christina Ricci and Tyler at the dance was very odd and out of place. I do think in the story, though, that there were enough misdirects placed throughout the show in just the right places to keep the story hidden below the surface for the most part. And part of me wanted to feel sad for Tyler, like he was being taken advantage of at first. But then at the police station, when he turned into a complete psycho, I realized he was loving every minute of it. With these kind of mystery stories, I always am trying to make mental notes of things that they show on screen that seemingly were out of place or that they show for no reason. And I noted the plants, the bees, the red boots, the drawings, and of course Crackstone, but I wasn't sure how they were all connected, and the body parts really threw me off, as well as including the therapist in the story, because I really thought that she was connected to it, the ending as well. But after they killed her, I was like, I'm not sure what's gonna happen now. But I knew all of these pieces were connected. I did also think that the drawings that Xavier was making of the monster looked a little bit like Tyler in the eyes, and I thought that was just too particular and peculiar of a coincidence to be an accident. So that really made me think it was Tyler too. And Tyler was also one of the only ones who knew where Wednesday was when she was out in the forest, and then having Xavier show up was really meant to throw us off the trail. I also thought that Crackstone was terrifying, and that was really fun. There were so many elements at the end interacting, and it was a really cool ending for that series. I thought the costuming was gorgeous. Of course, the dress and the dance was amazing. The dance was so unexpected and yet so perfect in its whimsicality, and I thought the music was great. Danny Elfman did an amazing job as always. I thought the iconic Addams Family double snaps was perfect to get into the secret society. Overall, every episode had me and my mom on the edge of our seats. We almost binge watched the whole thing in one night, but we made ourselves save 2 episodes for the next day. I can't wait to see what they do with season 2. Those pictures in the music box and the text messages she received at the end were such a great tease for season 2. And as much as I would love another season quick, I actually hope we don't get it very quickly. I hope they spend more time on it to give us a really great season for us to enjoy. It's the perfect blend of a spooky, campy mystery that was still family friendly with a good story. It was modern. I think overall it will be a great addition to the Addams Family lore, and it was such a pleasant surprise. But thank you so much for joining me, friend, and thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts on Wednesday, I would love to read them below. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.